Okay, it's time for our final topic in our senses unit. Now, yes, there's a lot more in this unit, but here's where we're stopping with the notes. Okay, so this topic is about taste, smell, and hearing. All right, so let's get started. What are the five main tastes? We have sweet, that tends to be in the front area of your tongue. Now, that is not the only place you find taste buds for sweet, but that is where they're concentrated. Sour is going to be on the two sides of your tongue. Salty is again going to be in the front, but it's going to be a narrow band across the whole front of your tongue. Bitter is going to be all the way at the back of the tongue. Now, the primary reason for this is because a lot of poisons are bitter. So, having the bitter receptors close to the back of the tongue could hopefully prevent you from swallowing something that tasted bitter that could potentially be poison. And then umami, which is the savory taste, has the most widespread number of taste buds. And it's things that, well, it can be meat, right? But also things like tomatoes and mushrooms. So, some interesting facts about taste is that in order to taste, your food has to be dissolved in saliva. So, if you do not produce any saliva, unfortunately, you wouldn't even taste your food. And 80% of taste comes from smell. So if you have a cold and your nose is stuffed, things aren't going to taste the same. Spicy foods stimulate pain receptors. Okay, so that's an additional, it's not one of the five taste buds. And the number of taste receptors decreases with age. So you're not going to taste as well at 50 as you did at 20. Okay, this is a video about a person who lost completely their sense of taste. All right, in class, we're going to watch it. I'm not going to show it here in this recording.
I describe it as having bubble gum.
Okay, now smell. So again, that was pretty short for taste. Smell is going to also be pretty short. Smell, like taste, is based on chemicals. What happens? The olfactory nerve brings signals to the brain. The brain interprets those smells pretty quickly. In fact, the only other system in our body that can quickly identify, make sense of, and memorize those new molecules is the immune system. So smell is fast, okay? And just as the immune system is. So, what's an odor snapshot? It's like when your brain makes an impression of a special smell. So, example, the smell of chocolate chip cookies reminds you of your grandma's house, or the smell of iodine makes you think of a hospital, right? So, why do smells create these strong memories? Okay, for me, it's the smell of blown out candles. I love that smell. And you might say that's totally weird. Well, the reason I believe is that it reminds me of birthdays. So it's a positive memory. Okay, so scents are processed in the olfactory bulb. Okay, so if you look at this picture, you can see it's just right up in the front of the brain, right near the nasal cavity. Okay, and it's directly connected to two important organs in your brain, which we'll learn about later, but that's the amygdala and the hippocampus. And the amygdala is responsible for our intense emotions, and the hippocampus is responsible for some of memory. So it makes sense then that smell can trigger intense emotions, but also intense memories. So, one way to help remember things is to identify or associate a smell with it. And why do we have to sniff? So, sometimes you're like, gotta smell it. Well, our olfactory receptors are found in the roof of the nose. So, and it's poorly suited for the job of smell. So the air actually needs to be sniffed so it can flow across these receptors. Okay, pretty short on smell as well. So taste and smell pretty short. Now we're going to focus on hearing, slightly longer. The function of the ear, okay, is to sense and collect sound and maintain equilibrium. you can see that the sound waves are moving through the pinna. That's the visible part of the outer ear. You can see through the ear canal, and then it reaches the eardrum. And another name for that is the tympanic membrane. And you can see it vibrates. So sound is caused by vibrations. Those vibrations cause your eardrum or tympanic membrane to vibrate. When it vibrates, the three bones of your middle ear, the malleus, the incus, and the stapes, they vibrate. And then they pass that vibration along to the inner ear, which that snail-like structure, the cochlea, that's what we're going to talk about primarily and how it functions in hearing. So this test right here, this website has a quick test of hearing. So when we do this in class, you will test this out. You start this by clicking here, and then you're going to click as soon as you can hear the sound. Okay, that's actually not where I did, but just that's how you're going to complete that process. Okay. The hearing parts of the ear. Okay, so again, we have the pinna, the visible part of your ear, to the ear canal. That's considered your outer ear. The middle ear are those three ossicles. And then your inner ear, we're going to talk about two main structures there, the cochlea and the semicircular canals. Okay? And then this structure right here is something called the Eustachian tube. And if you ever had tubes put in your ear, what they did was help to open this Eustachian tube, okay? Because the job of it is to keep pressure the same on the inside, on both sides of this tympanic membrane or eardrum. So we have pressure on this side, we have pressure on this side. The job of the Eustachian tube is to keep it the same. So if it gets clogged, it's why your ears might feel like they need to pop, okay? And it also serves to drain any mucus present in the middle ear. So if it's not open enough, you could end up with ear infections because that mucus isn't draining. So how do we hear? Again, I talked about this a little bit, but here's another a walkthrough of the process. So sound waves travel past the pinna, the visible ear, and into the ear canal. When sound waves reach the eardrum, it vibrates. The vibrations cause the malleus, the incus, the stapes of the middle ear to vibrate. The vibrations reach the inner ear. The cochlea, shaped like a snail there, is found here, and it contains thousands of tiny little hair cells, and they change the vibrations into electrical signals and then send it down the auditory nerve. Now, the semicircular canals, there are three in the inner ear, and they help maintain balance. So what they do is they give clues about the location of our head and what direction it's turned. Okay, so the three are facing in different directions, so they're going to give different clues about head position. The Eustachian tube, which I talked about, that's what connects your middle ear to the throat, a part of the throat called the nasopharynx. It ventilates the middle ear. It keeps the pressure the same. So if you're driving in a hilly ear area or on mountains and your ears feel like they have to pop, that is the Eustachian tube doing its job of keeping the pressure the same. Happens on airplanes as well. And it also clears the mucus, right? So here in this side, you can see a blocked Eustachian tube. The eardrum is bulging inward. It creates that sort of muffled sound because it's not going to be vibrating correctly. And with a blocked Eustachian tube, fluid can accumulate in the middle ear and also just affect your hearing. All right, here is another video that we will watch in class about performing a hearing test. And there you have it, taste, smell, and hearing, the last of the senses in this unit. So hopefully you learned a thing or two. I think it's super interesting, and I'll see you next time.